For millions of Americans, the biggest decision they'll ever make is when they claim Social Security. But a lot of people think about this decision in a surprisingly simple way. They might ask, should I claim it at 62? Should I claim it at 67? Maybe 70? But those ages aren't the real decision, because the right claiming age is influenced by a whole slew of factors working together. Things like how long you might live, how much you've saved, how your taxes will work in retirement, how Medicare premiums are calculated, whether you're married, and even what kind of legacy you want to leave. And each of these factors has a way of pushing the optimal age a little bit earlier or a little bit later. And when retirement researchers run simulations across thousands of retirements, they repeatedly find the same truth, that there is no one optimal age that works for everyone. Instead, every retiree sits somewhere along a spectrum. Think of it like a sliding scale. Some of those forces push the decision towards claiming earlier, some say it's better to claim later. And what's best for your situation depends on how all of these factors interact together. So in this video, I want to walk you through the most important forces that move the decision earlier or later, the exact variables retirement planners evaluate when helping someone decide when to claim Social Security. And once you understand all of the factors, you will be in the best possible position to make the best possible decision for your situation. The first and arguably the most important factor is longevity. Social Security is essentially longevity insurance, and the longer you live, the more valuable those delayed, larger benefits become. Researchers consistently show that the break-even point, the point where delaying your Social Security benefits start to produce more lifetime income than if you had claimed earlier, tends to fall between the age of 78 and 82, depending on the assumptions used. In other words, the break-even point is the age when the total benefits from waiting to claim eventually catch up to and then exceed the total benefits you would have received by claiming earlier. So if someone ends up living into their late 80s or 90s, delaying their benefits can dramatically increase their total lifetime income. This can be especially important for women who tend to live longer than men. It's also incredibly important for married couples because the odds of one person in that couple having an extremely long life are exponentially greater. For a healthy couple at age 65, there is roughly a 50% chance that one spouse lives past the age of 92, and about a 25% chance that one spouse lives past age 97. And because of this, most retirement researchers will suggest that the higher earning spouse delay claiming benefits all the way until the age of 70 if possible. And while we're on this subject, there is a very important, often misunderstood idea that I want to clear up here. If a spouse delays claiming Social Security until 70 and earns those delayed retirement credits and gets the higher benefit, that higher benefit absolutely carries through to the survivor benefit. So if you have a higher benefit at 70, your surviving spouse does get that higher benefit. There seems to be this persistent myth that survivor benefits max out at full retirement age, and that is simply not true. So the bottom line is the longer someone expects to live, the stronger the case becomes for delaying Social Security benefits. Next, health is closely related to longevity, but it deserves its own consideration. If someone has a serious health condition or a reduced life expectancy, you can absolutely make the argument to claim benefits early. Because remember, the goal is to receive the benefits you've earned. Planners tend to look at health very carefully because not every health issue translates into changing the timing of your claiming decision. Because if you have minor chronic conditions or temporary health problems, those might not affect your longevity, so you do want to evaluate this appropriately. Another consideration is family longevity. If you look at your family history and you routinely have parents or grandparents who are living well into their 90s, there's a strong case for delaying benefits. It's because you might follow a similar trajectory. But if you look at your family history and there tends to be a pattern of early mortality, well then maybe there's a stronger argument for claiming your benefits earlier. Some retirees also consider quality of life factors, including concerns about declining health or cognitive decline later in life. In those cases, someone might decide to claim earlier while they are still healthy and active enough in early retirement. In this situation, the ideal goal then becomes maximizing income in your early years of retirement when you can enjoy it most, rather than maximizing lifetime income. For example, someone might think, hey, I'd rather have more secure income in my 60s and my 70s when I'm healthy enough and most active early on in retirement, even if that means slightly less income later on. And in this situation, maybe this is not mathematically the most optimal decision, but behaviorally, it very well could be. Retirement isn't strictly a math problem. It also comes down to how you want to experience your years in retirement. Next, your investment portfolio also plays a major role in the Social Security claiming decision. If someone has very limited savings, Social Security may be their primary source of income in retirement. And in those situations, claiming early may be necessary because maybe it's essential to cover life's essential expenses. But if someone has a larger portfolio, delaying when you claim can be the more powerful strategy. Now, why is that? Because delaying Social Security allows retirees to use their portfolio earlier in retirement in exchange for a larger guaranteed income later. Once that larger Social Security benefit begins, the portfolio has to provide far less income for the remaining decades of retirement. And this can matter because one of the biggest fears retirees have is running out of money. Delaying when you claim Social Security reduces this risk by increasing your guaranteed lifetime income streams, and this can dramatically reduce the burden your portfolio has to carry in retirement. In other words, withdrawal pressure on the portfolio declines, longevity risk decreases, and the retirement plan often becomes more stable over time. Many retirement researchers find that when people tend to more heavily draw on their portfolio earlier on, while delaying when they claim Social Security, it increases the overall resilience of the total portfolio over time. And this lines up with what we tend to see in the real world. A helpful way to think about this is that delaying Social Security is similar to using part of your portfolio earlier in retirement to secure a larger inflation-adjusted pension later. One way to think about this is how this decision might change depending on portfolio size. If someone has very limited retirement savings, Social Security often becomes the primary income source in retirement, and in those situations, it can be more necessary to claim early on to help cover those essential expenses. If someone has a moderate portfolio, the decision becomes more balanced. They may have enough in savings that they can delay when they claim Social Security by a few years, but Social Security will still play a strong role in their retirement income plan. But for retirees with larger portfolios, delaying benefits can become especially powerful. They may have the flexibility to draw from their portfolio earlier on in retirement and allow that Social Security check to grow as much as it possibly can, and then allow that guaranteed income stream to start later on in life. And once it does start, this can